Steve Coates, of course, from the Flyers Radio Network, joins us with a look at this team, Pete Coatesy, where Washington and Pittsburgh on back-to-backs in a team that really needs one. This is a tough spot for them.
Yeah, the timing of it isn't very good, and especially now that you got all the side shows that you have with a outdoor game. There's a lot of different things that are happening outside of the game of hockey, so you don't want to have your team lose their attention span being in all these different events that go with a stadium series game. I mean, there's a whole itinerary of things to do, and even practicing tomorrow night at 6 o'clock doesn't follow the normal routine of a hockey club. Usually they would practice at 10 o'clock in the morning and then have a morning skate the next morning. I don't think any of those things are going to happen now as far as the outdoors concerned because of the weather being the way it is. It's going to be 70 degrees here tomorrow, 65 here right now, but believe it or not, by game time, it'll be 37 degrees. So it looks like we're going to have a hockey game on Saturday night, and what's better is that we're going to have comfortable weather for we, the broadcasters, prior to being frozen on Saturday night.
Steve Coates with us. Coatesy, this Flyers team that Mike's talking about, they flashed up a stat more than once last night on the national broadcast when they said no team has ever had a 10-game winning streak and then not made the playoffs. The numbers are just baffling. They only have 22 points, the league's second worst total since that 10-game win streak ended. Where do you start with what the problems are with this team?
Where did the wheels go off? I would say at a time where all of a sudden we weren't getting consistent goaltending. Neuvirth went down to injury. Actually, right at the end, when you think about it, we right at the end of that, when Stolarz was here, that's when our 10-game win streak was about coming to an end. Neuvirth came back. Mason was kind of carrying the load. But I think when you really take a look at everything, it was just structurally we weren't very good in our own zone. That's why everybody in this hockey club is a minus. And I think that there's a stat somewhere about the fact that no team in the last 40 years has made the playoffs without having a plus player. And that's not a good stat. Then you take a look at your top players. I mean, 5-on-5, the top guys have struggled. The beginning of the year saw the power play being very effective. That hasn't happened of late. It's been really a struggle. And so all those different combinations coming together, just the things that were helping you at the beginning aren't helping you now. And if you don't have your big guns in this league going for you, you just can't win. I mean, if Sidney Crosby and Malkin went away from the Pittsburgh Penguins, they'd have a hard time winning. And that's what's happening right now with the Philadelphia Flyers. Giroux has struggled. He's played pretty good the last two games. Jake Voracek's played pretty good the last two games. They deserved a better fate last night. They carried that hockey game. They really did. I thought that they played hard the full 60 minutes. It was just one of those games that you carry the play, and all of a sudden, here they come. They score a goal. You carry the play again, they come back and score a goal. I wasn't upset about the effort at all last night. That was an effort that they deserved a better fate. Did they deserve to win the game? I don't know. But to come in here and beat Pittsburgh on Saturday is going to be a pretty hefty chore. You're talking about, like you'd mentioned, the defending champions. They are beat up right now back on the blue line. They just picked up Ron Hainsey today from the Carolina Hurricanes. And that's a veteran guy that they're going to use back there because they're beat up there. So maybe he could take advantage of that.
Not one, but two goals disallowed last night. Now, the Provorov one, it did show that it never did go in the net. But that one, you talked about Jake Voracek off to a good start last night. 23 seconds into the game, everybody thinks that Voracek scores, and yet they go to replay, and they disallow the goal. Did you like that call at all? I mean, I thought Weiss was just trying to balance himself when he put his hand on Holtby.
Yeah, but the problem is that there is no – people in the National Hockey League, if you ask anybody, and I don't care if it's management, coaches – the referees, the players, we don't know what goaltending interference is. I really can't tell you. It's kind of like what the Supreme Court said when they were trying to make a ruling on pornography. I guess you'll see it or know it when you see it. I mean, it's just I don't get it. I don't know what it is. Do I think that him hitting Holtby on the shoulder had anything to do with Holtby not making that save? I doubt it. You're talking about a guy with a lot of pads on that probably weighs 200 pounds. I don't think one hand on him is going to push him across. But putting yourself in that position, he did put the hand on him. He was in his crease, and they deemed that goaltending interference. So if by the, let's say, letter of what we think the law is, that would certainly fall into that category.
A lot of what Mike and I talked about today is involved the NBA trade deadline, the NHL trade deadline, 3 o'clock next Wednesday. And Coatsy, you talked about Pittsburgh making a move to shore up their defense a little bit. It looks like, or there's reports out there, that the Flyers may have something brewing with the Colorado Avalanche. If they were able to get a Landeskog or a Duchesne, would either of those guys be a nice piece on the Flyers?
Oh, my goodness, yeah. Either one of those guys would be a welcome addition. They both can put the puck in the net. They're game changers. But I think you've got to understand what you're going to have to give. And that's an interesting – that's the first I've heard of that. I've heard of us being sellers and looking to get rid of Mark Streit and Michael Del Zotto at the deadline. But I've never heard of us making a big move. I think that we're right back up against it right now because we've only got the 2 games, Pittsburgh and Colorado, prior to the March 1st deadline. And so the decision-making becomes really tight at this point because you're still in it, but it's going to be a tough road to hoe. Vegas says that we have a 5% chance of making the playoffs. Well, that makes it pretty tough. We got to go on a heck of a run, and we're not playing like a team that can really go on a heck of a run, and we don't have an easy schedule. Not only do you have Pittsburgh here Saturday, you got Colorado, then Florida, which is the hottest team in the National Hockey League, and then at Washington the following Saturday. Is it impossible? No, it's not impossible, but the way it's been going of late and all the different ingredients right now, those teams, Pittsburgh and Washington, and the Florida Panthers, they went on the road to beat St. Louis, Anaheim, Los Angeles, and San Jose. I mean, that's pretty darn impressive. So they're going to be tough. So when you look at it, it's going to be Ron Hextall, and this is not a decision that is easy because Ron Hextall is up against time. He's got to make his team competitive at the same time. He's got to keep the fans happy. A lot of different combinations coming up this week on that deadline date. And right now, I can't even begin to think about the different combinations. You haven't heard. I didn't hear that one that you just mentioned. I just heard most because we're in kind of a tough situation that we're going to be sellers.
Yeah, I want to get your take on this because Neuvirth's going to start on Saturday. He's played well, but he's now lost 3 of his last 4. It looks like they want him to be the guy. He had played well, and now when they've kind of committed to him, this is when he hasn't played well. It's just another story of the Flyers goaltending merry-go-round, it seems like.
Well, the goals that were scored on him last night, I mean, that first goal by Backstrom was a hell of a shot. I mean, right up over his shoulder. And I think he was screened by Gudas just at the last second where he didn't pick up on it and get the glove up. Then when you take a look at the goal by Oshie after Ovechkin came in, you got one of the best goal scorers, and that's a tough play, and he actually did get a piece of it, and it took the rebound to be able to knock it by him. I can't really fault him on any of the goals last night. It was just, they got in a position. The one by Backstrom, Brandon Manning made a little bit of a blip along the wall. Then once that comes along the wall, you leave a guy like Backstrom in a spot like that for a shot. Those are the kind of things that kill teams. They're struggling to win, and it just takes that one mistake. And that's why this team's so fragile right now. It's very tough to come back when you're fragile like that.
Steve Coates, the Flyers Radio Network, Flyers and the Penguins on Saturday night. You talk about the trade deadline. I guess the tough question is, how about the bigger names? Giroux and Voracek. I mean, those guys are hard to move, but
can't move Giroux.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's got that no movement clause there. But is that something that Ron Hextall should be thinking about doing?
Oh, I don't think so. I think that you can't start firing up your core players on a short-term problem. I mean, Giroux's got a long-term deal. Nobody's going to. I mean, that's those are big numbers. Both he and Jake are pulling in here, and that makes it very tough. I mean, you've got to match yourself up cap wise for the team that wants to take somebody like that. They got to get that kind of room in their cap. That's why trading players like that becomes so tough. No, I wouldn't even think that's in the wheelhouse. I don't think you trade your core players at this time of year. I really don't. I don't think it's healthy, and I don't think it's not fair to your fan base.
All right, Coatsy in Pittsburgh. Pete and I booked hotels today. Hopefully the game is played.
You did? Where are you going? Where are you staying?
Oh, this is a story in itself here. I mean, PT, you know him. He wanted to plan this out and book like
I'm a planner.
2, 3, 4 weeks ago. And I said, PT, I am not booking that hotel until the last possible minute. I would have rather booked it on the drive to Pittsburgh rather than book it when we did. But we're staying a 2-mile walk. I got us nestled right next to PNC Park, and we can walk to Heinz Field from the hotel 2 minutes.
Perfect. I know where you're staying then, if that's the one that I think you're staying at.
Yep, starts with an H, ends with a T.
Yeah, I thought Pete would have been at like a suite at the Motel 6.
Yeah, he tried to get us at the airport, but I said, we got to wait.
Monroeville.
The airport's a 45-minute ride.
It's the wrong direction. Yeah, it's too far.
Wow. He wanted me to book on Sat. We were sitting in the car Monday, in the car, looking at all these places. What about this one? I said, just wait.
I got to give it to him, Coatsy. He was right. We got a good deal, and we're right by
that
the ballpark.
hotel was online at over $450 when we started this. We're under $250.
Really?
Yeah, man. Hey. Leave it to the MG. We'll get it done.
And are you guys rooming together?
No.
Yeah, I was sitting. Never mind.
Those aren't pillows. We're not that brave, Coatsy.
All right, Coatsy. We'll see you on Saturday, pal.
You're not coming till Saturday?
We got to work on Friday. You think the show does itself?
You're right. I apologize. I forgot where I was.
Tomorrow. Got to do the show. Josh is off tomorrow, so we're screwed there. The only two left are us two.
Well, I'm going to go buy a pair of Bahama shorts for the for the game.
For the Stadium Series outdoor game.
Yeah. So I look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday.